Welcome to Chamber Today. In this episode, we'll talk about a silent crisis. Mental health issues are touching nearly every family in the state and nationally. We'll visit two of our local chamber members that are trying to help fight these trends, both medically and financially. That's coming up on Chamber Today. Hi, I'm Aaron Stern, a local business owner and member of the Spanish Fork Area Chamber of Commerce. Struggles with mental health and their consequences really is a silent crisis. Families that are faced with the issues don't want to publicize it. Schools attempt to deal with the stress, but more importantly, those that face the challenges hold it inside. Today we want to throw some light onto the topic and talk with two member businesses that are working to help with the crisis. With me, I have Jesse Carden, a past chair of the Chamber's Board of Directors and a member of the Spanish Fork City Council. Jesse, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, Aaron.
Cool.
We have also Megan Johnson, who is, what is your exact title at FFC?
I kind of do it all, but I think the title Chief Nursing Officer, Nurse Administrator, so I oversee everything clinical at the Spanish Fork Hospital.
Yeah, gotcha. And then we also have George Garcia, who is the owner of Jurassic Tacos.
I'm actually a partner in a couple of locations here locally, Spanish Fork and Springville, but I am currently the COO for Jurassic Tacos.
Perfect. Right. And George, Jurassic Tacos was the business of the month for this last month for the Chamber of Commerce. Yeah. And one of the main reasons that it said that you were voted or selected as that business of the month was how you are helping as a business with the mental and behavioral health of the community and the crisis that's going on. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's something that just really spawned out of a tragic situation, just currently that occurred in our community where we lost someone, and that individual was actually, we knew the family. My son actually did some gymnastics with him throughout the state and the U.S. And one of the siblings actually ended up taking his life. So it struck really close to home, and this wasn't the first time for our family. So my son is actually a partner with us in our business, and he actually came to my other business partner and I and asked, "Hey guys, could we do a fundraiser for this family?" Okay. It just snowballed into us really deciding to do this fundraiser statewide. Gotcha. So that's how it all just really began.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you did this, so you said it kind of went statewide, mm-hmm. right? And it was first for a family. Yeah. How did those funds end up changing? Because at first it's for a specific family, mm-hmm. and then it gets a little bit broader. How did that work?
Yeah. So it evolved with us getting involved with AFSP, the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Okay. We wanted to really put those funds to work in the communities that our restaurants are in. So what we decided to do was partner with them, talk to them, and really have them help us keep those funds in those school districts, in those communities. They're very in touch with what is going on with each individual community. So that was the reason we decided to team up with them and keep those funds there.
Yeah, and this isn't the only time you've ever done something like this, because I think I heard it's called Tacos with a Purpose or something like that.
That is actually an internal mantra that we have, Tacos with a Purpose. And we really, what we've tried to do just in the community is really just give back to whoever is in need. We've really focused our efforts a lot with first responders, with police officers, and so on, just to really get involved in the community with those groups. Gotcha. Yeah, and that's where it really spawned, and it's really, we've been doing it for about 5-6 years with the communities.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. How long has Jurassic Tacos been around?
7.
Oh, wow.
So
7 years.
Right
almost
from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, and it started with police officers. Yeah, in the beginning.
So, sorry to keep going down this maybe rabbit hole for a little bit, but what made it, because a new business, there's a lot of things that come with that, mm-hmm. right? Like a lot of changes, a lot of things are happening, but from the beginning you decided, hey, we're going to give back. Why?
I believe that Fernando really was grateful for the opportunities that he was given as he was growing his business, where you're growing your business and you don't understand a lot of the local laws and regulations and things like that. He ended up having a lot of run-ins with police officers and with state officials and health departments and things like that. Being a kind of a gentleman that came out from Mexico, coming out here with the American dream, he didn't know a lot of the state regulations on what to do. and he just saw a lot of help there. People really extended their hand out to him and really guided him through the whole process of growing his business here locally. It started in Orem out of his garage.
Oh, wow.
And that was literally where he got his first ticket, right? And it's like, I didn't know what I really needed to do, right? And everyone was so kind to him and really guided him through all that it just became really easy for him to give back to those groups and to the community that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving us a little bit of that history.
Yeah,
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
Megan.
Yeah.
IEC has a big part of this.
Yeah.
Tell us a little about that.
So, you know, when it comes to mental health, we are in kind of a mental health crisis. And, you know, where does that come from? Where does that stem from? But from an Intermountains perspective, we're trying to look at that, you know, before it happens, during this crisis, and then kind of afterwards as well, and ensuring that the community has all of the resources that it needs. And as we, you know, are coming out of a pandemic that has changed everybody's lives, we've seen an increase in mental health, and to be able to exactly explain it, you know, I really can't. And but we've all just kind of been through a lot, and so Intermountain is really looking at what resources we have. We're trying to increase resources. We're also going through a healthcare shortage, where, you know, we just can't find enough people to be able to go into social work, to, you know, go into the therapies, to do the follow-up care, to do that pre-screening, and just making sure that we have the resources that we need. So we're looking at what we can do to increase the support in the community, and I think first and foremost it's recognition that, you know, there are a lot of mental health issues. I think 30% of the Utah population has some sort of a mental health issue, and it can be anxiety, it can be depression, it can be you know, psychosis, it can be a lot of that, and that's a big population.
Yeah, it is.
And it's a big population to serve. And so really identifying that having a behavioral health or a mental health concern is nothing to be embarrassed about.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of people out there that are just like you, going through the same issues, and so how do we work together? How do we collaborate? How do we provide those resources to prevent suicide, and to prevent them from, you know, not being able to go to jobs, from not being able to have friends, not being able to finish school. It can be debilitating, and so we're really just looking at how we improve the knowledge in the communities, how we improve those resources, and looking at technology.
So the first step is really identifying if you have a personal mental crisis, or if there's somebody close to you that does, and then from there, gaining access to help.
Yeah.
Talking, right?
Yeah,
Talking about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, what are some of the biggest barriers you're seeing to the access for help?
I think 30% of the population's, you know, being in this crisis and getting access into therapy. One of the things that I think we look at the most, and what I have brought with me today is looking at medications. When we go to a provider and we're recognizing that, okay, maybe I need a little bit of help, and maybe medication is the route that I can take, my next step to this. When it comes to antidepressants, antipsychotics, anybody that has gone through that route of trying to find a medication realizes that you're going to start on a medication, but it might not be the right medication for you.
That makes sense.
And it really just, it's because of your genetics. So what works for you might not work for me. And when we start antidepressants and we're looking at reaching a therapeutic level, it can take about 6 weeks to reach a therapeutic level to even know if this medication is going to work for me. But that's 6 weeks of time that we've just lost to somebody that is really struggling internally, and they get excited that, okay, this is my next step. I'm going to start this medication. It's going to work. I'm going to feel great. I can move on. But when it doesn't, they almost go into, you know, more of a depressive state. And so one of the things that Intermountain a couple of years ago has really started looking into is the genetics of each and every individual when it comes to medication. And so we call it pharmacogenetics. And so it's looking at the pharmacy aspect of your genetic makeup. And what it does is, and it's really cool, and it's amazing where we are at with technology right now. But so if a provider, a family practice provider recognizes we're going to start on a medication, they can order this, it's called RX Match, and it's a lab, so you do have to have a physician's order for it. And you bring this kit home and you actually just do a swab inside of your mouth, so no needles or anything. And you submit that in, and it will go to a lab, an Intermountain lab, and about 2 to 3 weeks later, your provider will get this list of medications, and it's not just antipsychotics, it's not just antidepressants. We look at heart medications, we look at GI, gastrointestinal medications, we look at medications that you would take pre and post surgery, pain medications.
Throughout your entire life.
Your entire life.
That's awesome.
And so, but what it allows us to do is it takes this list of over 200 medications and your genetic makeup, and it tells you this medication will probably work or will probably give you side effects. This medication will work for you. This medication will work, but probably won't be as effective as if we started with this medication. So when we look at behavioral health issues and we look at time being on our side and needing time on our side, we can do this, and we can know what medication, yes, absolutely, what medication to put them on first to get them where they need to go to start on that route to improved behavioral health.
How long have you guys been doing this RX Match?
Intermountain, I want to say they've been doing it for about 3 years. I know when we opened Spanish Fork Hospital, this was one thing that I was very adamant that we were bringing in. Because I wanted this option for our community. Now, not a lot of providers know about this or that it exists. Right. One thing that we've really pushed for this was on our postpartum unit. 1 in 7 women suffer from postpartum depression. And again, when you look at time being on your side, a mom that's going home with a new baby, that life has changed, hormones are going crazy, and they were already predisposed to some mental health concerns, mental health or behavioral health issues. Waiting 6 weeks to follow up with their doctor and saying, okay, I'm not doing well. And sometimes we're not able to catch those moms in those 6 weeks. And they take things into their own hands. And so being able to have this, and so what we're doing is moms before they are discharged home actually every mom goes through some kind of a mental health screening. We ask them a series of questions. And our pharmacists on site are looking through those responses. And if they're high alert, high risk, have previous mental illnesses, then we're requesting and we're actually asking our providers to order this for them so that they have this when they do have that follow-up or when they do make that decision, I can't do this alone anymore.
Is that covered under most plans?
It's not covered so it is about $250 out of pocket.
Oh, wow.
But Intermountain, we do have a self-pay, like we'll do a discount. So $125 if it's self-pay, and then in extreme situations where we've looked at the patient and we know this is going to help them, we've actually eaten the costs ourselves.
Awesome. Wow. So you bring in like a medical side, right? And maybe hey, let's talk. Let's bring some support to this, right? And we're talking about collaboration between the business, the community, all these different things. So how do we, as a community, right? And I'm not looking for the silver lining answer right now, right? But how do we work together to work through this crisis? Because I think that there's so many different avenues that we have to go about this. I don't know. I think a discussion on that would be important.
Yeah.
I love that you bring that up because I've got a really good friend that quotes. I'm going to quote her, but she says it takes a village to raise a child, but it really takes a community to save one, right? So, and that's really stuck with me. Every time she said, I just want to clap. But it really does, and I think as a community, there's a responsibility that we have to save those people, right? To save the children, to save as many people as we can. And we're blessed to be able to have these businesses that we can run and operate and be able to give back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think there is a higher responsibility when it comes to being a business owner in the community, to really be in touch with your community, to understand what is happening in the community, to talk to your employees, to really figure out, hey, what's going on in your life specifically.
Yeah, ask the hard questions.
Yeah,
right?
ask them, absolutely. And even with Jurassic, with JST, we've got a little internal saying as well. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just a play on words. It's such a fun brand that it's just a play on words that makes that conversation so much easier. Hey, let's talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
But then you start a conversation, right? Mm-hmm. We start talking, we may find something out. We might hear something, or something might pique our interest and be like, hey, I just talked to Megan, and she told us about, because maybe they're struggling with a medication, they started medication. Yeah. Megan has just given us some information. I think that's one of the things that we're missing a lot of the times, is that we're afraid to ask questions because we don't think that we have the answers.
Yeah.
Well, and we also don't know what we don't know, right? So we don't know the signs. I mean, my wife dealt with postpartum depression with our child 2 and 3. Child 2, we had no idea. She had no idea. I didn't know what the signs were. I didn't know what to look for. Until it repeated itself after the third birth. It's like, okay, we're seeing a pattern now. We need to get this figured out and sorted out. Let's talk to our doctor now. These things this wasn't available back then, right? Yeah. Even doctors, physicians were sending moms out and weren't doing these type of follow-up visits. And now we realize, okay, this is so important for us to see the signs, to understand what the signs are, again, to ask the questions, right?
Right.
And really people, I believe people generally want to do the right thing. And this is more, let's say, in regards to business and employee. They want to do the right thing. They want to do a great job. But if they're not, it's either because they can't or they won't. So I believe that an employer, an owner of a business, needs to figure out, really, is that individual not doing their job because they can't or they won't? And if they won't, really, you've got to ask the questions. Hey, how can I help you? What's going on? How can I make your job easier, right? And really, it begins with trust, right?
Absolutely.
For sure.
First off, that they have to trust each other for that individual to open up. So even if you ask the questions, if there isn't trust, the questions aren't going to be answered.
Yeah. And we each have our own separate, different circles of influence, right?
Yes.
And I think that those conversations are so vital in those circles of influence, because a lot of times it's, hey, either I'm not having that conversation because I don't think I can or I won't, but it's maybe equipping ourselves with just, it's okay not to have the answers. But when we have the conversations, then we're saying, okay, let's go find it together. Let's have this conversation together. Let's work together. Let's go work with just different companies, different organizations. Yeah. One of the things that I think is, Megan, I heard you tell a story last night, and if it's okay, if it's not too personal, about an event, in 2022, IHC was the Community Partner of the Year, I think, or Community in Action of the Year, yeah. And it was because of some events that you held, some different things. Can you tell that story? Because I think that it goes along with what we're talking about here so nicely. Yeah,
so in opening Spanish Fork Hospital, we're looking for collaboration. We're looking for the community collaboration and how we prevent people from having to come to the hospital. We want to be there when they need them, but how do we prevent you from having to come? And that starts with prevention. And so Grace, Miss Spanish Fork, actually reached out to us, and she had this grandiose idea to put on a women's girls' night out, a health event for women's health, based off of the fight that her mom has gone through with cancer, and a personal story, with my mom going through breast cancer as well. And I said, yes, absolutely, let's do it. We had about 5 weeks to put it together, which was not a lot of time, but we were hoping to get about 500 women there that night, and we had over 1,200. Wow. But the story that I was sharing last night was one of our caregivers at Spanish Fork Hospital. She works in our cafe, Cole. She was there, she was helping, she was supporting this event, and she had this idea to come up, and I actually ended up wearing her sweatshirt today because I just got it, and I was like, yes, I'm gonna wear it. She had an idea to come up with this sweatshirt, and I don't know if you want to read the back of it.
It says, "Dear person behind me, the world is a better place with you in it. Please stay. love the person in front of you?
So she had the idea to come up with this sweatshirt, and she did. She made herself a cute one, and she was out into the community, and somebody came up behind her and tapped her on the shoulder and was just like, I needed that today. Wow. Thank you. Wow. And so she made more and she put them on her little website. She has a little boutique on her website, Made by Michael. And all of a sudden, American Fork Police Department got a hold of it. And they have kind of turned that into their whole mantra. And they have been ordering a bunch of these shirts for their department because, mental health, our healthcare and our frontline service see the most of it, and it is very difficult. And so it was just a cool idea.
Well, it's interesting how these things come full circle. So Spanish Fork City a couple years ago, had a tragedy that happened, and one of the, I think he was a senior in high school, Sterling Brinkerhoff at Spanish Fork High School decided, hey, everyone needs a Valentine. Everyone needs to feel loved on Valentine's Day. So Mayor Mike Mendenhall, when he became the mayor, said, hey, we're going to continue this tradition, but we're going to take this a little bit further. We're going to take this to every high school. And we did that a couple weeks ago, and it was right after, the tragedy that George was talking about. And to see those kids' faces, it's goofy, right? Like you watch some city council members and mayor dance and look goofy and all those different things. But to say Happy Valentine's Day, you're loved, you're cared for, you're important, is a thing that we all need to hear at different times. And we don't know what people are going through, right? And I think that if we treated everybody as if they were going through a crisis all the time, more times than not, we'd probably be in the right. They probably would be.
It's so funny because we have high school interns that come, and I actually just met with 4 of them this morning from Payson, Salem, Springville, Maple Mountain, Spanish Fork, and I was just having this conversation. Being a high school girl is hard. It is very hard. And I was like, one thing that we recognize within healthcare is that everybody has a story. And how do you connect with them to find out their story? Everybody's going through something. You can absolutely agree. Everybody's going through something. So how do you connect with them to find their story? And a lot of it is just, you start by being nice and we listen. You have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And so how do we just listen to people's stories? And a lot of times if they just find that trust, they're just going to start spilling it out to you, especially in healthcare. And that's one thing that we never take for granted. And through the chamber and through these local businesses, find your passion, whether it be cancer, whether it be behavioral health, mental illnesses. It could be hunger, it could be child abuse, what is your passion, and find it, and then you really have to rally the community. It's talking about it that is going to get us all on board and all working together. Because within Intermountain Healthcare, we have so many opportunities to help, and we want to help, and it's making those connections.
And treat each other with kindness, right? I think at the end of this is, let's listen, let's talk, but let's be nice to each other. Let's show love for each other, and I think that it would go so far.
I mean, Spanish Fork is a great city for that. I mean, we have such a sense of community here. We take care of each other.
Absolutely. It's a great place to raise our kids. But we can't stall. We have to keep the momentum going and come up with these new ideas and collaborate and work together. And people have such great ideas. They absolutely do. And so how do we gather these ideas? How do we work with them? How do you roll? And a lot of times it's just finding the right resources.
And Spanish Fork seems to be just an epicenter that draws all the neighbors in. I mean, as I'm in our restaurants and I ask, where are you visiting from? It's every single rural area that we have around here that just is really coming into Spanish Fork, which is just a great thing to see.
And it's going to continue to grow. Grow and grow.
Pride and progress.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you so much for being here, Megan, George,
thank you.
Jesse. Great discussion.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Great. We'll be right back with more Chamber Today. Welcome back to Chamber Today. We've had several new businesses open and join our chamber. Let's watch some highlights from those ribbon cuttings.
Welcome to the core, the newest member of the Chamber of Commerce.
Kim, do you want to start and just explain a little bit about your company, your business model, and then this amazing equipment you have here?
I'm going to say, like, with the reformers, what these are called is these are called Pilates reformers, and I truly, truly believe that anybody can do it. We had ages last night in our group. We had a 10-year-old and up to probably 60 years old. Anybody can do this. It helps strengthen, it helps sculpt, it stretches all forms of muscles. It helps strengthen your core. It's super fun. It gets your heart rate up, and it is high intensity but low impact on your joints. Something that anybody can benefit from right now.
I know that there are a ton of residents, Spanish Fork residents, that are watching this, and there are a lot of them sitting at home thinking, I really need this. I need something. I need to change my routine, whatever level of physical fitness they're at. What would you say to them? Maybe Colleen, what would you say to those folks that are watching and wondering, is this for me?
To come try it. My experience was I came to one of Kim's classes when she was doing it in her house. I hadn't met Kim yet, didn't know, I had never tried Pilates, and it completely changed my view on how to work out. I love it, and I knew I wanted to be a part of it with Kim, and I've never had a trainer, an instructor, anyone quite like her, and so I was excited to keep coming and learning, and that's what developed into the core. So if someone's watching at home wondering what it is, I would just say, come try it. Come try it.
And if you come try it, it's not just like you against the machine. We have awesome, fun, energetic ladies here to help train you and show you what to do. Is that right, Kim?
Absolutely. Like, we want this to feel like a place that you actually want to be and hang out, and we want you to be here. We want you to want to be here.
As we conclude this episode of Chamber Today, we want to thank the leadership of the Chamber of Commerce, Spanish Fork City, and Spanish Fork 17 for their support. We look forward to being with you again with a new edition of Chamber Today. Thanks for watching and supporting our local businesses. Remember to shop local.